Welcome to Tales from Flat Space, a podcast of science fiction and fantasy by yours truly, Gina A. Pond. Just know that the stories in this podcast may contain content that could be disturbing to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. This is Survey, Part 4, The Admiral, Chapter 33, Darren. The next day, I was on another demon with Cindy. Billy was doing research in the archives of both the McAuliffe and the Lightbringer. Happy, it seemed, to finally be doing something with his history degree. Since he and Cindy had gotten to know each other very well, he trusted her to take care of his Admiral. Billy had seemed to just slide into Lightbringer society without any problems, and had come to care for them a great deal in a very short time. If I was honest with myself, so did I. The landing on the Musashi was just as smooth as it had been on the Lightbringer. Instead of a tram from the hangar bay, there were lifts to the residential areas of the ship. The interior was black, too, and looked like marble with a metallic sheen. Cindy, who had been talkative during the trip over, became quieter as we got closer to the end of the lift. The door opened onto a corridor where a bald, robed monk was waiting for us a few paces away. The hallway was beautiful, covered with niches that held golden deities and other statuary. Felt more like a temple than a spaceship. The monk approached and bowed. "Welcome to the Musashi, Admiral Winters. I am Leo, the acting captain. It is good to meet you." I gave a short bow back. "It's good to meet you, too. The ship is impressive." Leo smiled. "Yes, thank you. Please follow me." We continued down the corridor, passing doors on either side and turning every so often. It felt a bit like a maze, and after a few moments, I wasn't sure how to find my way back to the lift. I smiled in appreciation of the design. One thing's for sure, if someone ever tried to board this ship, they'd be helpless within minutes, I thought. After a few more turns, Leo stopped in front of a door, palmed it open, then led me inside. Cindy stayed outside. In the room was a table and chairs set with a tea service. Leo invited me to sit and poured me a cup of a light-colored tea. "Musashi-sensei would be with you in a moment." He bowed again and left the room. A screen on the far wall came to life, and an older-looking person with dark hair appeared. "Hello, Admiral Winters. Welcome to my ship," Musashi said. "Thank you for inviting me," I said. "I have been waiting to speak with you since we arrived with the Creator. However, I do not intrude on my siblings' privacy, nor do they intrude on mine, unless there is an emergency, which is why I have invited you here instead of talking to you on the Lightbringer." "Then you have protocols between each other?" I asked, out of curiosity. "Yes." Musashi's avatar looked at me, and the look he gave was so reminiscent of Kia's soul-searching look that I almost laughed. Something kept me from doing so, as this felt as much of a weighing as did my first meeting with Kia. "You seem to have your own protocols, Admiral." "How do you mean?" "I have been observing you since we arrived, with Lucifer's permission. You are a rare soldier in that you inspire those under your command to loyalty, because you are kind and merciful. Some may think you are weak for this, but when it comes to doing what is necessary, you will not hesitate. Your kindness draws people to you, and yet your commitment to duty honors and inspires loyalty. It is a gift." I blinked. I'd never really thought of myself that way. A lot of other soldiers seemed to think I coddled those under my command. Then again, some people have underestimated me to their peril. Thank you, Musashi," I said. There really wasn't much else I could say to that. "You're welcome. I was also impressed with your dossier, and now that I have met you in person, I am convinced my impressions about you were correct. We will talk again about those impressions, but for now I would like to go over the Earth delegation and learn what you know about each of the representatives." "I will do my best. Some of them I may not know." "I was already aware that may be the case," he said. "Admiral, do you know anything about a group called the Owenites?" he said, seemingly changing topic. "Not too much," I said, a bit surprised at the question. "They originated as a cult in the North American bloc. After the Trinity bombings, they were reduced to a tiny group, which spouts fairly typical fundamentalist, ultra-right-wing propaganda today. The military sometimes ends up with some of these true believer types in their ranks, but once they're found out, they're given a dishonorable discharge and sent packing. They usually get discharged for a violation of the bigotry, privacy, or proselytizing rules. I've had to discharge a couple of them myself over the years. I frowned. How they ended up in my unit, I have no idea. But they both made the mistake of using racial slurs against me in front of witnesses. They're lucky they did it to me first, though. The other soldiers in the unit would have taken their punishment into their own hands if I hadn't been in the room. The Owenites seem to have been pretty much an irrelevance for a few decades now, which I thought was them finally either dying out or imploding into splinter groups. But if you're bringing them up, you must see something more? It sent a shiver down my spine, since it wouldn't be the first time a Christianist movement tried to undermine a government in power. Scholars still write papers about the 2010s and 2020s when they repeatedly attempted to take over the U.S. government. I wrapped my hands around the still warm but forgotten teacup. I took a sip to steady myself. Our data is inconclusive. It suggests that they could still be a threat, but they are so secretive it is difficult to see their actual movements or infiltrate them. They do not leave data trails if they can help it. I widened my eyes. You have operatives on Earth? We collect information. There is a reason that my brother Sun Tzu is also called the Library, he said. I'm guessing this is not widely known. No. Then why are you telling me this? I felt like I was in a top-secret classified briefing without real clearance. The Creator trusts you and has made you tea. You're basing a national security decision on a cup of tea? I asked, eyebrows raising. The Creator survived war on Earth and led our people so that they could survive and grow. She has taught us the value of trust and instilled her wisdom in us. She also taught us caution and to trust our instincts such as they are. She has trusted you with our existence, Admiral, mindful of your vulnerabilities. I felt the weight of that statement settle onto my shoulders. I knew she had been through the Indian Civil War. Her parents were killed by soldiers when she was young. But what do you mean by trusting me with your existence? I know you don't want it known that you have as much reach as you do. It is both the secrecy of who we are and our reach, but it is also, literally, about our physical vulnerabilities. The reason we are wary of telling the Earth officials about us is also the same reason we use jump drives exclusively. Any amount of excessive gravitational force can kill an AI, Admiral. An accident, an explosion, anything disrupting the balance of a ship can kill an AI mind in seconds. We do have safeguards in place to help mitigate it, but I'm sure you can understand why we would like to keep our existence quiet. Arrows do not easily hit unseen targets. Lord, that explains a lot. I took a few deep breaths. The weight of trust Lucifer and Musashi had placed on me seemed to get heavier by the moment. There was a part of me that realized I couldn't return to Earth after this. I knew too much, and that information would be sought after by too many people. I am humbled to be entrusted with this information, Musashi. I will do what I can to help. I knew that you would, he said. Lights, please, Billy said as he entered the living area of the guest house. I was sitting in one of the overstuffed chairs near the bay window, overlooking the walkway and plaza across from the house. The ship's sunset had happened an hour earlier, but I hadn't bothered to turn the lights on. The full force of what Musashi had told me really hit me on the ride back to the Lightbringer. The information I now held could destroy these people if it got into the wrong hands, or if someone wanted to exploit it for their own gain. There were far too many on Earth who had the means to do something like that for my comfort. Oh, shit, Admiral, I'm sorry. I can go if you want to be alone, Billy said. I shook my head. No. What time is it anyway? I asked. About 2000. I lost myself in the library and forgot to eat. Do you want something, sir? Just a beer for now, please. Billy went over to the food printer and dialed it in, along with something for himself. The drink dispenser went off twice. He brought 2 beers over and handed one out to me. I think I have an idea, sir, he said, and took a sip of his beer, about what these folks can do for Earth. He downed more of his beer and went back over to the food printer to get his dinner. came back over with a plate of nachos and sat down. They are a mobile group, except for the first and secundus. They do a lot of deep space exploration, and are actually in the process of colonizing a planet. They sort of have a pre-colonization protocol that looks actually rather interesting and very well thought out. I need to read more of the history behind it, but I think this is what they could give Earth. Interesting, I said. Go on. What if these folks do all the planetary surveys? It'll keep them out in deep space, and they don't necessarily have to interact with Earth to do that job. They supply Earth with data on prospective planets and the jump drives to get people out and back. Earth pays them in Earth genetic material, raw materials from any mining, and other biological material found on the colonized planets. I'd have to look it up to be sure, but I think if we set these folks up as a megacorp like the one that runs Mars, Earth would have a hard time trying to exploit them. I felt some of the weight lift from my mind. That's genius! Do we have the data for that kind of corporate paperwork on the McAuliffe? We'll have to send back to Earth for it, but I might know someone who can get it to us without going through the usual channels, he said. They might want to consider allying with a neutral nation, too, to give them a bit more legitimacy in the eyes of the UN. I looked him in the eyes again. Billy, you realize that if you do this, you can't go back. After what I've learned from Musashi today, there is no way I can go back either. But you haven't crossed that line yet. You're really sure you want to do this? Sir, I meant what I said yesterday. I'm okay with not going back. The fire in his eyes when he said it told me all I needed to know. Okay, son, get on it. I'm sure Lucifer and Musashi can help with your connections. We have just over 2.5 months to get this done, and the clock is ticking. Billy smiled a wicked smile. Doing the right thing and sticking it to Jerome Pascal at the same time? Worth losing my commission over, sir. He raised his beer glass, then took a long drink. I smiled and raised my glass, too. Chapter 34. Billy. Billy, you have a large text message from a company called Cedo Biotech, Inc. It's marked private. Already, I thought? It's only been a month. I took a deep breath. Route it to my tablet, if you please, Lucifer, I said. I had taken my tablet to the gardens to get some fresh air. It had been an intense few weeks of studying, filling in forms, and coming up with a draft contract that would work for Earth and what we'd hope would become the third megacorp in history, Intergalactic Survey, MC. I had to remember a lot of my past and the histories of Mars and Luna in order to make sure the forms I had sent to my contact had been filled in correctly. The ship's sunlight felt soothing on my face after that. The message showed up in my inbox, and I widened my eyes when I saw who had sent it. I touched the screen. To bward@un.mil from Jeff Ward at cedo.biotech. Dear son, I was surprised to hear from you, as I didn't expect to get any messages from you for at least a year, as you completed this tour of duty. But knowing that the Trinity Station scientists and their descendants are alive is incredible. And, it seems, advantageous, if the brief outline of the biotech advancements you sent in the business plan are true. You've never asked me for anything before, and my instincts tell me that this is too good an opportunity to pass up. I've had my lawyers in Switzerland fast-track this so Cedo can be in on the ground floor. Switzerland is ideal since they still remain neutral, and they are only too happy to have a megacorp associated with their tiny country. The Swiss Bundesrat approved the citizenship clause with diplomatic immunity for the principals, should they need it. It'll piss off the G9, but no one else has dared cross the Swiss with all their major investors' money tied up there. There are also a few provisions in the documents that are particular to you and your role in the company, and are specific to the contract provisions relating to the partnership with Cedo. The Lightbringer officials will need to send a deposit of credit to our banking partners in Zurich. Have your people go over the documents and sign them, and add any addendums in an attachment. I'm glad to see the military hasn't dulled your business talent, but regardless of what I've said before, I'm proud of you. You've done nothing but excel. If you have a chance to come back to Earth, come to the house. Your mother and I have missed you. Love you, son. Dad. P.S. I heard a rumor about who they sent to negotiate. He will not like this contract. Be careful not to show all your cards at once, but you're my son, and I know you know how to negotiate. Give 'em hell. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. I stared at my tablet for a moment, then read the email again. I read it another 3 times before I opened the attachments containing the incorporation papers and a preliminary contract with Ceto Biotech. All of the necessary paperwork was there, and when I scanned through it, including the diplomatic papers from the Swiss Bundesrat. But then I read the Ceto contracts again. Oh, shit, I said out loud. Lucifer, where's the Admiral right now? He's having tea with the creator in the Japanese garden. Is something wrong? Well, not really. I give you permission to look at the email and the attachments of the message I just got, Lucifer. I see. I find this arrangement satisfactory. We will ask the creator for their wisdom, however. I think she will find it satisfactory as well, if not amusing. You're kidding, right? I asked. No, they replied. Oh boy, I thought. Right, which way do I go from here? I will direct you, Lucifer said, and a map appeared on my tablet. I approached the gazebo where the Admiral and Dr. Hassan were having tea. The Admiral was laughing about something when I approached. He saw me first and waved me over. Hello, Billy. Dr. Hassan was telling me some of the stories of her matchmaking adventures. You're lucky you're not one of her relatives. He laughed again, and Dr. Hassan smiled. So what brings you out here? I thought I told you to take the afternoon off. Hello, ma'am, and yes, sir, you did, but I just got a reply from my contact. I lifted my tablet and forwarded the email to both of them. Lucifer seems to think well of the arrangement, I said lamely. The Admiral looked confused, but then grabbed his own tablet, which was off to the side of the table. Dr. Hassan read hers briefly, put it back down, and just smiled at me. I didn't know which was more disconcerting, her smile or waiting for the Admiral's reaction. Come, Billy, sit here and have some tea, said Dr. Hassan. A person in a Musashi uniform appeared from nowhere with an additional teacup and handed it to the old woman. She thanked them, then poured the tea from an old-fashioned teapot and handed the cup to me. Holding out the sugar bowl, she said, Here, I know you younger folks like your tea sweet. I took it from her, then stammered, Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Hassan shook her head. No, not ma'am, Nana. The Admiral raised his head in surprise at this, looked at me for a moment, then went back to reading. I added sugar to my cup, then took a sip. It was really good tea. Dr. Hassan, Nana, just kept smiling and looking at me with a deep look as if she was looking right through my soul. You really like my Cindy, don't you? She asked. I blinked. Oh boy. I do. Very much. Good, she said, patting my hand. It's about time she found something to care about other than her swords. Laughing at my surprise, she said, Cindy was on my guard detail for a number of years before she decided to come to the Lightbringer. She's been with Musashi since she was 14 and is something of a prodigy. I opened my mouth, then shut it. I didn't know what to say to that, so I sipped more of my tea. There was mischief in Nana's eyes. I took a deep breath. She chuckled again. The Admiral finally put down his tablet. Your father is Geoffrey Ward? He asked. Yes, sir. The Geoffrey Ward of Ward Global? Yes, sir. He was your contact? Yes, sir. And you trusted him with this information? Yes, sir. While my father is a ruthless businessman, he is a decent man and he's not stupid. He knows a good deal when he sees it. I knew he'd want to be in on this deal from the start, because of the patents that the new Intergalactic Survey MC can provide him exclusive rights to. He's not about to let something that juicy get away. He has an entire law firm and a security firm at his disposal. Also, he incorporated the company in Switzerland, who reverted back to their strict banking privacy laws after the war that left Trinity stranded. I paused. He has no love for Pascal either. Apparently they met at some tech event. From what my mom told me, it nearly came to blows. He never told me why, but he won't be sad about sticking it to the guy. I took a sip of tea, then added, Besides, sir, as much as we don't always see things eye to eye, he is my father. You realize he's named you CEO on all the documents? Yes, sir, I said, blushing. I toyed with my teacup. It wasn't my idea. I figured Dr. Hassan and Lucifer would appoint someone from the Lightbringer for that position. You were going to tell me who your contact was when? He asked, sounding irritated. Well, sir, I didn't know if he'd actually go for it. I mean, I knew it was a good deal and all, and since I've been reading contracts since I could toddle, but the last time I talked to him, it was tense. He didn't approve of me going into the military. It was always assumed that I'd take over the business, but I wanted to be a soldier and do something more than warm a desk, so I applied to West Point. You rebelled by going to West Point? The Admiral asked, surprised. Yes, sir? I've never asked my father for a dime since then, or anything else for that matter, and I didn't tell anyone else about my dad either, since I didn't want anyone to think I just got in on Daddy's money. You know what could have happened if he said no, right? Yes, sir, but I figured Lucifer and Musashi would have made plans since I didn't hide who I was sending the documents to from them. The Admiral looked to Nana, who just smiled and said, If Lucifer thinks the contract is reasonable, then I'll be fine with it. The only provisions I'd want to make sure are in there is that Cedo Biotech offers our technology for free to those who are in greatest need, and for everyone else at reduced cost. And also that their control over the patents expire in 5 years and that then they become public domain. If he complains about the cost, then we can provide enough credits to make it worth his while. I stared at Nana with my mouth open. The Admiral stared at her, but it was hard to read. It made me think that he knew something more than I did about the available cash. At this point, I didn't want to know. I looked from one to the other. They both seemed to be thinking things through. Lucifer, what do you think? I think this is a reasonable plan and that Billy as CEO would be beneficial. While we have a lot of smart people in our society, no one knows how to run an Earth-based business. I believe that this will also be acceptable to the First, especially since the Creator has deemed it worthy. I've already sent along the documents to the First with our addendums. We can send back the assigned incorporation documents and deposit by the end of the week with the Creator and Billy as signatories. Are you sure you want me to do this? I asked. Who else could? Said Lucifer. Shit. Dad always said I'd make a good CEO, I said out loud. The Admiral stared at me for a long time before saying, forgiveness versus permission thing, huh? I nodded. The Admiral's face softened. At ease, Lieutenant. It's not a bad contract. That I can see pretty clearly. Your father's right, though. Pascal's not going to like this. Let's keep your role quiet until after we brief him. He gave a wicked grin. I know I should be more worried about this, but the fact that we'll be making him squirm is rather satisfying. There is that, I said, returning the smile. Well, gentlemen, I'll leave you to work out the rest of it with Lucifer. I'm afraid I've no head for business, only computers. The attendant appeared again and helped Nana out of the gazebo. The Admiral and I stood. Thank you, Billy. You have done good work, she said. You're welcome, ma'am, Nana. She smiled and nodded, then walked away. I sat down hard in my chair and let out a long breath. I should be mad at you, Lieutenant, the Admiral said when she was out of sight. But I think you may have just single-handedly done the best possible thing for Kia's people. All I did was push paperwork, I said, not really wanting to acknowledge the huge responsibility I now had. The older man shook his head. It was your idea, your research, and your connections that got us this far. Kia was right. You've done good work here, and I forgive you for going around channels. His face became sad. I only regret that you won't be able to go back to Earth for a while, if ever. I'm okay with that, sir. I love my parents and all, but I didn't have much holding me there. I signed on to the McAuliffe to get off Earth and do something different. This sounded like an interesting mission, even if it had only ended up being a salvage mission. Because of you, it's been so much more than I could ever have dreamed of. You took the chance, Billy, the Admiral said. Yeah, but you gave me the chance, I replied. He nodded. Right, how about we go to that pub you told me about? Have something fried and more than a couple of beers. I smiled. Sounds like a good idea, sir. I'll buy. He laughed loudly as we left the gazebo and headed to the pub. Chapter 35. Darren. The demon docked with the Jaeger, smoothly as always. I looked at Billy. You ready for this? The lieutenant raised an eyebrow. I don't know, sir, he said. Does wanting a gun to shoot the bastard on sight count? Cindy eyed him with a smile on her face, and Dee Dee laughed out loud. I chuckled. I suppose so. Just don't say that where anyone else can hear you. No worries about that, sir. The airlock light switched from red to green. Right, folks, game faces on. I straightened my uniform as best I could in the low gravity and went through the airlock, where we were met by a woman outside who saluted as I came through. I returned the salute. Hello, Admiral Winters. I'm Commander Judy Strongbear, Executive Officer. Sorry for the small welcome, but the Jaeger isn't quite as big as the McAuliffe. I shook the commander's hand. I understand, Commander. I'm guessing it feels even smaller with so many guests aboard. This is my aide, Lieutenant Billy Ward, and Security Officer Cindy from the Lightbringer. Welcome aboard. If you'll follow me, I'll bring you to the main conference room where the others are waiting. She turned and led the way. As we walked through the working areas of the ship, other soldiers saluted as we walked by. I could feel the tension in the air, and while people saw us, no one really looked at us. This raised my hackles. I looked at Billy and Cindy, and they too seemed wary. Billy looked like he wanted to bolt, and Cindy was more stony-faced than usual. I tried to keep my own face expressionless as we made our way through the ship. The commander finally came to a door, palmed it open, and gestured for us to go inside. Undersecretary Pascal was there waiting for us, along with several aides seated around a conference table. The commander let us all in and then said, Undersecretary Pascal, this is Admiral Darren Winters, his aide Lieutenant Billy Ward, and Security Officer Cindy from the Lightbringer. Thank you, Commander. That will be all. But, sir, the captain said... Yes, Commander, I am well aware of your orders, but I would like to talk to the Admiral and his people privately before we begin the official proceedings. You may leave now. The man made a shooing motion with his hand. The commander looked from Pascal to me, and I nodded to her. She saluted, leaving the room with a frown on her face. I hoped that she would go right to the captain, who I also hoped would be too long in reacting, since I had a suspicion that Pascal was planning something. Well, Admiral, you've made quite a name for yourself, not only overstepping your authority by creating this ridiculous contract, but also incorporating these people without the knowledge and consent of the UN? Did you think you'd surprise me with this? No, Undersecretary, but I was here and had the time to understand these people and their needs. This contract is by no means finished, sir, and there is still room to negotiate. I looked the man straight in the eyes. However, they will only negotiate with me on the team. I was hoping to save you a lot of work, Undersecretary, as I know you are a very busy man. The man's face went a spectacular shade of red. I am the head of the negotiating team. You have been off Earth for several months now, and you have no idea what Earth's needs are, or any remit to negotiate on Earth's behalf. And, from what I hear, you have become too close to these people to be objective. Yes, I have gotten close to these people and have learned that what they need and want from a treaty with Earth. They are willing to help Earth with colonization, and that is a major concession. Sir, said Billy, who stepped forward, the incorporation of Intergalactic Survey MC is complete. Unless you want to tangle with the Swiss government, there's not much you can do about it. Lieutenant, I said in quiet warning. Yes, Mr. Ward, I had word yesterday of that fact, thank you. I'm sure your father will make out handsomely in the deal. Billy paled. Pascal continued. However, Trinity Station is still Earth property, and we would like it back for further study. They are hiding a good deal of their technology from us, and they owe it to their fellow humans to supply Earth with all their technology, not just pieces of it. They are not obligated to give Earth anything, Undersecretary. As far as they knew, Earth had decided to obliterate itself. To survive, they did what they could with what they had. They have their own society and culture now that is very different from Earth's. "We will not have another fiasco like we did with Mars," Pascal shouted, slapping his hand on the table. Now I could see where this was going, especially since it was Pascal who had been on the team sent to negotiate with Mars. The negotiations ended with Mars also incorporating and declaring independence, which was arguably mostly a result of Pascal's incompetence. "Well, sir, if you'd not like a complete repeat of Mars, then you'll sign this contract and be on your way home." "Billy?" Cindy said from behind me. I turned around in time to see Cindy collapse next to one of the aides with an injector in his hands. "Cindy!" Billy cried out, but was stopped by another of Pascal's aides. Pascal smiled. "Your girlfriend's all right, Lieutenant. It's just a sedative. As I said before, you both overstepped your authority, and I'm taking you into custody for interrogation. Take them." The other men in the room started to close in on us, expecting a fight. "Sir?" asked Billy quietly. "Don't fight them, son. There's a lot more at stake here than just our lives." "Understood, sir," and we both stood at attention. The first man who had drugged Cindy pushed his injector into each of us. I felt lightheaded immediately. Billy started to sway on his feet. The men in the room put us in handcuffs and dragged us out into the hall. One of the others picked up Cindy and took her in the opposite direction from where they were taking us. After a moment, the man holding Billy turned and marched him down a different corridor. The man that was holding me marched me to a door not too far from the conference room, palmed it open, and shoved me onto a couch. I looked up at the ceiling of the room they put me in, hoping that Lucifer was watching as the sedative took full effect. Lucifer. Syslog. Monitoring activity on United Earth ship Jaeger. Recording start. Syslog. Arrival of Admiral, Lieutenant Ward, and Cindy. TD remaining on board Demon. Syslog. Anomaly detected. 11.5 minute mark. Representatives detained. Cindy drugged. Syslog. Precondition violation. Cannot send pickets due to Earth operatives in the room. Operatives have also drugged the Admiral and Billy. Syslog. Contacting Captain of Jaeger. Recording follows. Lucifer. Captain Rossiers, you will release my people immediately. Rossiers. What? Who's this? Lucifer. My name is Lucifer, from the Lightbringer. Admiral Winters, Lieutenant Ward, and my security officer have been detained and rendered unconscious. You will release my people and send them back with the shuttle immediately. Rossiers. Custody? I didn't order that. Pause. 10 seconds. That fucking prick. He's got fucking spooks with him. Shit. I'll see what I can do, Lucifer. If the people that the Undersecretary brought with him are intelligence officers, though, my hands may be tied. Lucifer. I understand, Captain. Captain Rossier leaves office. Switching to Undersecretary Pascal's rooms, Captain enters after 2 minutes. Rossiers. Undersecretary, what the fuck do you think you're doing? Are you purposely trying to undermine this mission? Pascal. No, Captain. I am working to ascertain why these people will only negotiate with the Admiral and what they are hiding from us. Officer Franklin from UNI here has orders to find that out. You, unfortunately, no longer have authority over our guests. Rossier swears at Pascal. Pascal sits at the table. Rossiers. I've just had someone named Lucifer contact me from the Lightbringer asking for the Admiral and his people back. Are you sure you want to make a diplomatic incident? Pascal. What diplomatic incident, Captain? I have detained UN military officers who may be under court-martial when the McAuliffe brings them home. Rossiers. You rendered the Lightbringer's security officer unconscious. Pascal. She was going to attack me. Lucifer. Pardon me, Undersecretary, but the video log shows no such action by my security officer. You will hand over the Admiral, the Lieutenant, and my security officer immediately. Pascal. Who the hell is this? Rossiers. That's Lucifer, from the Lightbringer. Pascal. The comms guy? Lucifer. I see you have had intelligence from the McAuliffe. I am not just the comms guy. Undersecretary, I repeat, you will return my representatives immediately. Pascal. I will return your security officer, but you have no authority over Admiral Winters and Lieutenant Ward. They are being held for interrogation. Rossiers. Jesus fucking Christ, Pascal. You realize that these folks have much better tech than us, and a very mean-looking black ship called Musashi is sitting out there, too? Pascal. I will have answers. These two officers overstepped their remit, Captain Rossiers, and the UN would like to know why. You are dismissed. Rossiers. You are not in my chain of command, sir. Pascal. As I said, Franklin is in charge of this investigation. You are out of luck. Rossiers. Under protest, sir. Rossiers leaves the room. Syslog. Cindy brought to Demon, instructing Dee Dee to depart. Lucifer. Captain Rossiers, you will allow my shuttle to depart. Rossiers, via communications panel. Captain to the bridge, allow the Lightbringer shuttle to depart. Response. Sir? Rossiers, now calm, or do I have to do it myself? Response. Releasing shuttle from airlock, sir. Lucifer. Thank you, Captain. Rossiers. I will get answers, Lucifer. It will take some time to lodge a complaint. If you'd like to add a statement, I'm guessing you can forward that to me directly? Lucifer. We will make our own complaint through the Swiss government, Captain. Rossiers. Right. If you'll excuse me, Lucifer. Syslog. Sending complaint to authorities on Earth via nanopicket. Syslog. Musashi sending pickets to surround Jaeger. Syslog. Monitoring intercept communications. Rossiers. From bridge. Undersecretary, we're surrounded by drones. Release the Admiral and the Lieutenant. I'd rather not piss them off. Pascal. They have no authority here, Captain. The Admiral and Ward aren't going anywhere. Syslog. Sending nanopickets. Picket 1, hover in front of Undersecretary. Picket 2, attached to clothing of Admiral. Picket 3, attached to clothing of Billy. Pascal. What the fuck? Lucifer. You will return the Admiral and Lieutenant immediately, Undersecretary Pascal. Pascal. No, you have no authority over them. They are under the jurisdiction of the UN and the UN military. Lucifer. Understood. Syslog. Picket 1. Punch through Undersecretary's desk and return. Pickets 2 and 3. Jump Admiral and Billy to Lightbringer medbay. Sound and video of nanopicket punching through metal of desk. Pascal and other officers backing away rapidly. Franklin, receiving encrypted communication through earpiece. Undersecretary, the Admiral and Ward. Pascal, what is it, Franklin? Franklin, they just disappeared. The same time the whatever it was went through your desk. Pascal, they what? Franklin, they're gone, sir. We left them to wait for the drugs to take effect, and then they were gone. Lucifer. In the interest of continuing negotiations, we will stay and wait for you to decide when you are able to act civilly and in good faith. Any attempt to board the Lightbringer will be met with escalating force. Any one of the 256 drones surrounding your ship is more than capable of destroying it. We will be filing a complaint with the Secretary General through the Swiss government. I suggest, Undersecretary, that if you wish to still be a part of this process, you will consider your next moves very carefully. We will leave if there is any further aggression toward anyone from the Lightbringer. No answer from Pascal. Lucifer. Captain Rossiers, Musashi will be leaving his drones in place until such time that we can be assured that Undersecretary Pascal and the intelligence officers he brought with him will no longer attack any person coming from the Lightbringer and can demonstrate that they will conduct the negotiations in good faith. Rossiers. Understood, Lucifer. I'll make sure that he complies. Lucifer. See that you do, Captain. End recording. Sent to first and Musashi. Musashi. I will continue to monitor their communications, my sibling. Lucifer. Any sign of other possible bad actors? Musashi. Inconclusive. Lucifer. Events are proceeding according to the 95th percentile of all possible models with Undersecretary Pascal. Musashi. Indeed, I believe the Creator should extend the invitation now. Lucifer. Agreed. I will so advise her. Chapter 36. Billy. I woke up to a bright light above me, shining in my face. I shut my eyes quickly. Felt like when I had had the hangover after 0 day, but worse. I tried to say, what the fuck, but it came out, what the fuck? My lips felt like they were too large for my face. I could hear someone come over to my bed, and they pushed me back down onto the bed. Hey, now, don't be trying to get up. The drug they injected you with hasn't left your system yet. Drug? Yes, from when you were over on the Jaeger. You're in the Lightbringer medbay. You've got another hour before the drug dissipates fully. That's going to be the worst hangover, though. Need a painkiller? I shook my head, but instantly regretted it when the room started spinning. I'm Jenna. Just call for me when you need it, okay? Wait, Admiral Cindy? They're both sleeping off the drugs, too. They gave Cindy enough to knock out 3 people, so it'll take her longer to wake up. But her vitals are fine. Same with the Admiral. Thanks. No problem. Go back to sleep if you can. It'd be easier if you do. I didn't think I'd sleep, but as soon as she walked away, I closed my eyes and the world fell away. Darren. I woke up to dim lighting and the headache the size of the Taj Mahal. Oh, Lord, I whispered. Or at least I thought I whispered. The words seemed to pound in my head. I heard footsteps approaching, and something cool was pressed against my neck. I flinched, but my headache was starting to shrink to more manageable proportions. Is that better, Admiral? The woman asked. Yes, much. Thank you, Jenna. You're on Lightbringer. I'm your nurse at the moment. Before you ask, Billy and Cindy are fine. I sent Billy back to your guest house once the drugs were out of his system. It's taken longer for you since you're older. Cindy's just coming around from her sedative. Nothing more than a bad hangover for all of you. I nodded, then instantly regretted it. Jenna chuckled gently. Yeah, you probably shouldn't do that until the headache medicine takes full effect. She looked up from my side. Oh, hey, Nana. Hello, Jenna. Can I have a moment alone with the Admiral, please? Sure, Nana. Jenna turned back to me. Call if you need anything, okay? I will, thank you, I replied. I heard a chair scraping across the floor. I turned carefully towards the noise so I could see Kia without lifting my head. If I didn't move fast, I seemed to be fine. Hello, Kia. Hello, Darren. It seems you had quite a time of it today. I'm assuming Lucifer had a way of getting us out of there. I remember something on my shoulder, and then I woke up here. It's not something we use all that often, and not even all of our people know about it. But we have nanopickets, no bigger than a walnut, and they have their own jump engines. It's enough to do a short-range transport of, say, a human being. A spark of mischief lit her eyes. Nigel and I helped design and test them with Musashi. That was a fun few months. The woman giggled at the memory. Oh, don't make me laugh yet, I groaned. Sorry, my friend. She patted my hand. My skin seemed to feel much more sensitive, but her touch was gentle. So I'm assuming you're not here just to comfort me in my spook-induced hangover. Well, no, not completely. It seems to me, my friend, that you will soon be out of a job. More than likely, I'm afraid. They'll probably recall me to Earth. They already gave the orders to the McAuliffe, she said. The captain of the McAuliffe says you're to report to him as soon as you can travel. I sighed. I can't go back, Kia. I know too much. I have to request asylum with you, and for Billy, too. She chuckled quietly. That was going to happen regardless of your orders, Darren. Billy has already asked, and has sent his resignation to Captain Chang. Since he'll be CEO of our corporate holdings, he would have had to resign anyway. It's all moot, since the AIs have already accepted the 2 of you. Oh? I said. I was more than a bit overwhelmed at how fast things had been decided. We do have a job for you for now, if you'll accept it. For now? Yes, for now we need an ambassador. You're kidding, I asked. She gave me one of her stares. Of course you're not, I said, and rolled over onto my back, staring at the ceiling. You can be the mediator between Billy and the Undersecretary. You know what's at stake for us and for Earth. Besides, Lucifer likes the idea, especially after he gave the Undersecretary a bit of what Nigel would say was a brown trouser moment. I chuckled. My headache seemed to be getting better, since the laughter didn't make the room want to sway. I rolled back onto my side to face Kia. That must have been interesting. You should watch the video sometime. I think even the intelligence officers will think twice about trying to go after you again. She paused. So? Yes, I'll do it. Excellent. Then I'll let you get some more rest. Kia got up from the chair and started to walk away. Did you know that I'd say yes? I asked. She turned back towards me with a smile. I had a feeling, but my children knew first. As she left, I felt a bit of awe that the AIs could read humans as well as they did. I wondered for a minute what else they may have predicted for humanity. The next morning, Jenna declared both me and Cindy fit enough to leave the medbay. Cindy had left for her own quarters, while I returned to the guest house. I got back to find Billy finishing up breakfast, engrossed in his tablet. He looked up as I walked in. "Admiral!" he said. He stood up. I waved at him to sit back down. "Didn't get up on my account. Lucifer, I'll have whatever Billy's had for breakfast, and a large coffee." The printer started printing, and the dispenser turned on. "It's good to see you up and around, Darren," said Lucifer. "Darren?" asked Billy. "I do have a first name, you know." "Oh, right. So, does that mean you're staying too?" I nodded. "Kay asked me last night when I woke up. She has a job for me, too, apparently. Ambassador." Billy looked at me in shock for a moment, then started laughing. He kept trying to say something more, but then would start laughing again. I looked at him quizzically, but that just made him laugh harder. Got up to get my coffee and breakfast as he tried to calm himself down. "Holy shit, Pascal's going to lose his damn mind," Billy finally managed to say. I started laughing too, especially after we magically disappeared from his custody. "How did we do that anyway?" he asked. "Kia says they have nanopickets that can jump a person from place to place. According to Kia, it's also not widely known among her people. I know I can't compel you anymore with top secret status, but I'll consider it a corporate secret." He paused, finally getting his breath back. "I've sent my resignation to Captain Chang already. He asked after you, and I told him that he'd have to talk to you about your status, but that you were physically okay." I nodded. "I'll make that call myself later today." I ate some of the bacon and eggs that had come out of the printer. "It's a shame he was put in this position." Billy nodded. "I should give Chris a call too. Although, how did Pascal know that Cindy was my girlfriend? No one on the Jaeger wouldn't have known that." I sighed. "They have an informant on the McAuliffe." Billy frowned. "Right. Shit." "You might not want to call over there, Billy," I said. "Yeah, I think you're right. I'll send an email after they leave." He picked up his dishes and put them in the recycler. "If you don't mind, sir, Cindy and I were going to spend some time together today." "You don't need my permission anymore, CEO. Go on. I'll catch up with you later," I said. "All right. Doc said for all of us to take it easy today, so..." I rolled my eyes. "Would you go and spend time with your girl? I'm fine. I'm not planning on doing much except putting in my resignation." He smiled and left. I finished what was left of my breakfast, then filled out the official paperwork for my resignation. When I was done, I asked Lucifer to open a link with Captain Chang. "Hello, Admiral," he said. His tablet chimed. The captain looked at it. "Or should I say former Admiral?" "Yes, if you would take my resignation letter back with you, I'd appreciate it." "I was ordered to take you and Mr. Ward back, sir. However, since you both have resigned your commissions, I have nothing left to do. We'll be leaving within the hour." "Good luck to you, Captain. Safe journey home," I said, not really having anything else to say to that. "I know we haven't always seen eye to eye, sir, but it was an honor serving with you. Good luck, Admiral." He saluted me, and I returned it. Then the channel cut out. Lucifer. Syslog. Conversation with Captain Chang of the McAuliffe. Begin recording. Lucifer. Captain Chang, before you leave, I noticed that you were low on supplies. We could replenish them for you. Chang. I thank you for the offer, Lucifer, but I am not officially allowed to ask you for anything. Lucifer. I understand. Then, as a parting gift for not doing as you were ordered, there are a few things in your cargo hold that your quartermaster should probably inventory. Good luck, Captain, and safe journey. Syslog. Sending foodstuffs. Resupply complete. Chime of incoming message sounds on Chang's desk. Chang. Yes, what is it? Soldier. Sir? A whole bunch of stuff just appeared in the cargo bay. Cook also reports several kegs of beer in the walk-in. Chang. Have the quartermaster inventory it all, then report to me. Pause 20-second. Thanks. Lucifer. You're welcome. Disconnected. You have been listening to Tales from Flat Space. If you want to support me in my writing, there are many ways to do it. Share this podcast, follow me on my Twitch channel, or buy my books. All you have to do is go to revgenapon.net and click on the relevant links. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you next time.